The man on this can of ravioli is not a mascot. He is not an illustration. He is not a character invented by a marketing department. His name is Ettore Boiardi. At 18, he catered the wedding of a sitting American president. By 22, he was head chef at one of New York's finest hotels. Then he put his face on a 99-cent can of spaghetti and kept it there for 50 years. That was not a fall from grace. That was the plan. Here is how a fine dining Italian chef became the most recognized face in the canned food aisle, why he sold his own company to save 5,000 jobs, and what makes him the only real person on the shelf. Ettore Boiardi was born in Piacenza, Italy, in 1897. By 11, he was peeling potatoes in a restaurant kitchen. By 16, he had crossed the Atlantic and landed at Ellis Island with a job waiting at the Plaza Hotel in New York. He worked his way up to head chef. In 1915, at 18 years old, he catered the wedding reception of President Woodrow Wilson at the Greenbrier Hotel. Then he supervised a homecoming dinner for 2,000 soldiers returning from the First World War. Before he turned 23, he had cooked for a president and an army. In 1924, he moved to Cleveland and opened a restaurant with his wife Helen called Il Giardino d'Italia. The sauce was so popular that customers asked to take it home. Boiardi filled cleaned milk bottles and handed them across the counter. Demand outgrew the bottles. In 1928, he met Maurice and Eva Weiner, owners of a local grocery chain, who helped him develop a canning process. The first product was a kit with dried spaghetti, sauce, and grated cheese. But Americans could not pronounce his name. His own salesman got it wrong. So he changed the spelling to Boyardee. The chef who cooked for presidents now had a name designed for grocery shoppers. Boiardi did not think like a factory manager. He thought like a chef. When he moved production to Milton, Pennsylvania in 1936, he chose the location because it was surrounded by tomato fields. He convinced local farmers to switch their crops so the factory could source 20,000 tons of tomatoes per season from the land next door. He grew his own mushrooms inside the plant. He imported olive oil and Parmesan cheese directly from Italy, so much of it that his canned food company became the largest importer of Italian Parmesan in the United States. A man selling 99-cent cans was buying the same cheese that fine dining restaurants used. The sauce starts with those tomatoes, cooked down in industrial kettles with olive oil, garlic, onion, and a spice blend Boiardi wrote on a chalkboard in his office. The tomatoes are heated until they break down into a thick, dark red base. The olive oil does not just add flavor, it carries the fat-soluble compounds from the garlic and spices into the sauce so the taste distributes evenly through the can instead of sitting in pockets. Seasoning is added by weight, measured to the gram because a quarter teaspoon too much oregano in a batch of 10,000 cans means 10,000 cans that taste wrong. For the ravioli, sheets of pasta dough are pressed thin and cut on a continuous belt. A filling of seasoned beef is portioned onto one sheet by a row of depositors, each one dropping the same measured amount. A second sheet is laid on top. Machines stamp and seal each pocket, cutting hundreds of ravioli per minute. The shape has to match the can. Too large, and they jam during filling. Too small, and the ratio of filling to sauce shifts. The geometry of the pasta is engineered around the geometry of the container. Pasta and sauce are combined and sealed inside the can under vacuum. Then the cans enter a retort, a pressurized chamber that heats them to around 121 degrees Celsius for 40 to 60 minutes. At that temperature, bacterial spores that could survive boiling are destroyed. But the heat also continues cooking the pasta and the sauce. By the time the retort cycle ends, the ravioli inside are fully cooked and soft. The texture people associate with Chef Boyardee is not the result of cheap ingredients. It is the result of pressure cooking inside a sealed metal container. The difference between Boiardi's canned food and everything else on the shelf in the 1930s was not the can. It was what he put in it. Before him, canned food meant single ingredients: beans, soup, meat. He put a complete Italian meal in a can. Pasta, sauce, cheese, sometimes meat. That had not been done at scale. At peak production in Milton, the factory produced 250,000 cans per day. Boiardi kept his bed next to the production floor. He tasted every batch. This was not a CEO overseeing a factory. This was a chef running the largest kitchen he had ever built. By 1942, the United States was at war. The military needed meals that could ship overseas and survive months in the field. They came to Boyardee. The Milton factory switched to 24-hour production, 7 days a week, 5,000 workers on rotating shifts, 250,000 ration cans per day. Boiardi moved his bed to the factory floor and stayed there for the duration. A chef who once plated dinners for a president was now feeding an entire army from a canning line in rural Pennsylvania. By the war's end, his factory had produced tens of millions of rations shipped to soldiers across Europe and the Pacific. In 1946, he received the Gold Star Order of Merit, the highest civilian honor for his contribution to the war effort. Then, the war ended. Demand collapsed overnight. 5,000 workers faced layoffs in a town where the factory was the only employer. Boiardi had two choices: scale down and keep the company, or sell and guarantee every job. He sold to American Home Foods for $6 million. He did not leave. He stayed as consultant and spokesman. His face remained on every can. He appeared in commercials into the late 70s. The contract did not require it, but the food changed without him. American Home Foods was acquired by ConAgra. Each acquisition moved the recipe further from the one Boiardi wrote on his chalkboard. The imported Parmesan was replaced with domestic cheese. The olive oil gave way to soybean oil. The tomato fields around Milton no longer supplied the factory. Today, the ingredient list includes modified food starch and caramel color. The chef left the kitchen. The name stayed on the can. Walk down the canned food aisle in any American grocery store and look at the faces. Betty Crocker was invented by an ad agency in 1921. Uncle Ben was fictional. Aunt Jemima was retired after 130 years because the image was rooted in racial stereotype. Every face on that shelf is fiction, except one. The man on the Chef Boyardee can cook for a president at 18. Built a factory that fed an army at 45, sold his company to save 5,000 jobs at 49, then stayed on the label for another 30 years because he believed the food was his, and the name was his, and neither belonged to a boardroom. Next time you see that face on a can of ravioli, know this: that is not a logo. That is a portrait, and the man in it chose to be there. He died in 1985 at 87 years old. His company sold $500 million worth of canned pasta that year. Every can still carried his face. It still does. From milk bottles in Cleveland to 250,000 cans a day. From a presidential kitchen to the grocery aisle, the only real face on the shelf. He never left. That's the process. We reveal how things actually work, one story at a time. If there's something you'd like us to explore next, let us know. Until then, trust the process.